So let's go ahead and start. The same rules apply. It's going to be 2 minutes for each question unless I indicate otherwise. And we'll start with the easy stuff. Let's do our introductions, including why you are running for office. And I'm going to start I'll start at the other end. Let's start with Derek.
Test.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Derek Botana. I feel very fortunate that I've been able to run as a candidate for mayor. It's a great privilege. I was raised here, live here, work here, and I just honestly feel that for those reasons, propelled to run for office, to make our community better for the future generations. I feel right now that Bonita Springs is at a crossroads. We've had great progress, but there's still a lot of concerns and opportunities that we need to address before us. My plan consists of 6 key pillars, and I believe that these pillars will set a new foundation and a new future for Bonita Springs. The first one is economic prosperity. For far too long, our economy has been based off strictly tourism and real estate development. I say we build on that. We have incentives for entrepreneurship, incentives to bring small, medium, and large-sized companies to Bonita Springs, increasing the salaries of our residents. I believe in the Live Local, Work Local initiative, and I promise you, as mayor, I will make sure that affordable housing will be part of our comprehensive plan. Number 2, community well-being. In my office, the door will always be open. I will make sure that I treat you with the utmost respect. Also, I believe that every resident in Bonita Springs should feel safe and secure no matter where they live. Number 3, clean water management. Our economy is based off tourism. When our water gets impaired, it causes an issue on every facet of our city. From the small business owner on the beach, to the mom that gets laid off because there's no tourism, to the property owners. I always run out of time. I still have 4 other initiatives. Please visit my website.
And you might be able to get to work them in somewhere else down the road. Ruth.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Camera on.
Yes.
Okay, I don't think this is on. No.
It's got to switch.
Hello? Okay, very good. There are many, by the way, good evening, neighbors. There are many Bonitas, beautiful beaches, charming old Florida downtown, diverse residential communities, soccer fields, ballparks, waterways that offer kayaking, boating, and swimming opportunities. It's a great place to raise a family, to start up, or start over, or simply retire. But these amenities are under threat due to explosive growth and congestion. And we're under siege, in a sense. I'm Ruth Condit. I'm running for mayor of Bonita Springs because I care. I care about having a beautiful, livable, human-centered city. I care about improved urban aesthetics that affect how we experience and how we perceive our community. I care about streamlining permitting process to encourage small businesses into our downtown district and to make it easy for them without burdensome costs and delays. I care about the quality and quantity of our water so that our economy continues to flourish. And I'm asking you to hire me on November 5th for your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Mike.
Good evening, everybody. A lot of you know me from running my family's bicycle shop on Old 41. We've been there 30 years now. And from while I was on council, which I did for eight years, many of you came and saw me at the bike shop whenever there was a problem. I'm always there to help anybody, listen to your concerns, and do what I can to try to make things right for you. Bonita has come a long way over the years. I came down here when I was still in school, and I'm currently raising my sons, who will be the 4th generation to live here. But when I first came down there wasn't a whole lot to do in Bonita except for getting up and in trouble out in East Bonita, where we're not supposed to be partying. But it's great that it's come along. We have a downtown that's starting to thrive, new businesses coming in. While I was on council, we protected the Wonder Gardens, which as a little kid, every year when we came down, we always visited the Wonder Gardens. So, it was always a great place for me to go to, and I was glad I could be part of saving that.
Thank you.
But we still have a lot to do. As we're growing, we have traffic concerns. I think we've done a good job of kind of keeping Bonita, that small town charm. But unfortunately, Naples, Fort Myers, Estero, just growing like crazy, and we're sandwiched in the middle. So we're getting traffic no matter what, even if we keep our density lower. So we need to be smart about the growth, and we really need to work on things to address the traffic. And there's many things we can do. Most of the roads that have those issues are kind of out of control, but we can be lobbying the county and the state, and for the money, and try to get things done the right way. Because you can just add lanes, but any city that you look at, when they add lanes, it just creates more traffic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Rick?
Hello, yes. Yeah, I'm Rick Steinmeier. I'm your mayor. I don't know how many people in here know me. If you know me, raise your hand. Okay, good. I'm glad to see somebody that's paying attention. I'm straightforward and honest. And anybody that knows me knows that. I tell it like it is, and that's the only way I can do. But I try to follow the good Lord Jesus Christ. I'm not perfect, and nobody is, but He's my guide. I was born again 5, 6, 8 years ago, and the Baptist church took me out and dunked me in the Gulf of Mexico. And I've changed my ways. I was a kid once, and I had all kinds of fun, and I drank a lot of beer, and got in a lot of trouble. But now I'm straight and narrow. And my aunt and uncle, my grandmother bought a restaurant on Old 41 in 1948. That's 76 years ago. And her oldest daughter, and she married a Bavarian chef. And they added on and built this restaurant called the Golden Anchor. I don't know if anybody here remembers the Golden Anchor. And they sold it in 1961. Became the Pepper Mill and Pop Warner's Grapevine. And now it's Maria's. And he won the Silver Spoon in 57 and 58 with an orange glazed duck that he raised in the canal behind the restaurant. And I ended up in the food business, and Carl would say to me, "You know how much those ducks cost me?" I don't know if they're Mikasuki or not, but anyways, he won the Silver Spoon. I've been coming down here since 52, and again in 56, when the dog track opened up, and
Thank you,
went
Rick.
back to Cleveland, and it's much nice. You can't beat Bonita. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Let's move to the second question. These were generated by all of you in the audience. So the next question. What will you do that will directly benefit the Hispanic community of Bonita? Let's start with Mike Gibson.
Well, they are a growing population in our area. I believe it's roughly 20-25% now. And while I was on council, we have made strides to increase the number of soccer fields. And we started up Fiesta Bonita. We have the outreach committee trying to make everything more inclusive, because we don't want to just do stuff for us and do stuff for them. We want Bonita to be a homogenous family where we all kind of work together, live together, play together. I've been out to the soccer fields to talk with them one-on-one, and my door is always open to listen to their needs and figure out what we can do for them. but they're a hardworking group, and they're as much part of the fabric of this community as the rest of us.
Thank you. Ruth?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
The question is, what will you do that will directly benefit the Hispanic community of Bonita?
What can I do to what?
What will you do to benefit the Hispanic community here in Bonita? The Hispanic community.
I must admit, I don't hear very well. I hear what I want to hear. I got good media hearing. I'm familiar with all 41.
That's all right. Go ahead, Rick.
What will you do for the Hispanic community?
Oh. I took Spanish in 9th grade. All amigo, mi casa. They're the nicest people I've ever met overall. Family
That's a
people,
good idea.
friendly people.
Wait.
Not to interrupt you, I'm sorry. Why don't you sit here and I'll sit over there? So it's easier.
We'll wait for him to finish answering, and then we can move. So go ahead, Rick.
Love to be interrupted. And anyways, they're wonderful people. They're probably underpaid. You get a lot of people who live in gated communities around here, like 70%. And they say, oh, we got to get affordable housing. Well, why don't you pay these people enough so they can live in Bonita? You got to pay. You know, it's a supply and demand. You want people to work for nothing. You got to commute 100 miles so they get a low-wage job. You can afford to pay them more if you live in a gated community. Come on, you're giving your money away. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ruth?
Okay. Bonita is only as strong as its neighborhoods, and I believe in strong neighborhoods, strong streets. And if it weren't for our wonderful Hispanic community, I think that the downtown would be pretty empty. They bring a lot of life to the downtown and the streets in the evening. And thank you for that. I would make sure that we continue building the neighborhoods and affordable housing. I'm very, very much for that. And as an aside, I have a half Hispanic, half Anglo 6-month-old grandchild who's learning to be bilingual, and very soon my grandson will be talking to their grandsons when I have to get translated. So thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Derek, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Well, you know, I'm actually first-generation Cuban-American. My father fled communist Cuba in the 1960s. And I can relate very closely to my Cuban ancestry. And I believe the way to address a more inclusive community is starting at the beginning, educating the children, having outreach programs. I'm the chairperson of the Bonita Springs Historical Society. I am the first nonprofit out of the city that's partnered with FPAN, which was a cultural exchange of Hispanic children. And their duty was to draw what they loved about Bonita Springs. What do you think they drew? Sunsets, the cheeky hut that we built, soccer, the restaurants. So there is a big love for the Hispanic community in Bonita Springs. We just got to make sure that we do the proper outreach to the community, because a lot of them still feel alienated, and that is a shame. And I'll work very hard to open that door to the Hispanic community in Bonita Springs.
Thank you, Rick, or Derek, I'm sorry, thank you. And Derek also offered to switch seats with you, Rick, so that you can hear me better.
Derek, so you're closer and you can hear.
Probably help.
Let's do that. Thank you very much, Derek, much appreciated.
Digital sound doesn't work.
Now there's an echo in here, and my voice is low, so
Digital sound. Anyways.
that way we're good. So now we're all good. We're going to move to the next question. And again, straight from our audience, your constituents. What can you do to energize our dreary downtown? So let's start with Derek, and we'll move down the table from there.
That's an interesting question. Dreary. Maybe it was a rainy day when they wrote that question. Honestly, you know, the downtown has improved 50,000 times better than when I was a little kid. In fact, where the McSwain House is, there used to be the Wayside Inn next door, and that was a scary place. And I was actually forbidden to ride my bike visiting the Nelson brothers on that street because it was scary. So things have improved. But what I could see improve is definitely the lighting on Felt Street. At night, it's rather scary. It is very, very dark, extremely dark. And that is a safety concern as we get more and more restaurants and bars downtown. You know, people start to drink, things happen. So we have to make sure that we do address the safety around Felt Street for sure. And also around the Banyan Park and the Depot Park. There needs to be some better lighting.
Thank you. Ruth?
This is right up my alley because I have a design background. So there's a lot of ways. Number one, we could be, and these are quick fixes. This is nothing that has to take 10 years and partner with larger entities. We could start with power washing as you enter Bonita Springs. The railings of the bridges are quite dirty and moldy. We could do a little power washing there, as well as on our sidewalks and some of our buildings if you know, they're not up to code. Our medians, they were beautiful at one time. If you could get pictures of when DPC did the planting and did the plans and compare them now, it's night and day. When a bush dies, it stays dead. It's not replaced. So you've got a lot of holes and gaps and in the medians, and they could be improved by replanting. Definitely professional landscaping, and I do know that that is in the works for Depot Park, which is dreary. You have a sign that has yellowed plastic. It's a city sign that announces what's going on in the city, where the banyan tree is. I mean, why that's been there and hasn't been noticed, I'll never know. Those are just a few of the quick fixes that could brighten up Bonita. They're easily done. We could also encourage small business and do a lot of infill. We've got a lot of empty lots. We've got a lot of lovely old buildings sitting there that could be repurposed for whatever purpose. So I'd like to see more developmental infill and more attention paid to our aesthetics, which again affect how Bonita is perceived and experienced by visitors and residents alike.
Thank you. Mike?
No, I'm on that. Okay. My aunt and uncle had this restaurant on Old 41, 1948. Now, there was an alligator wrestler across the street. Seminole Indians had a tourist attraction. Come down 301. It takes 3 days to get down here from Cleveland. And they had all kinds of attractions along the road. And one of them was the Bonita Springs Wonder Garden, the Everglades Wonder Garden. And then my aunt and uncle bought the restaurant next to it. That's fine. Now, we've got the roundabout, and we've got the south part of Old 41. Let's get going on the north part of Old 41 from the roundabout to Rosemary. There's one house, I call it, the one building there. It's empty. It's got a great big picture window, and it's broken. The old law enforcement thing, the broken window approach. I called that in. There's another abandoned building there. There's a fenced-in area with grass up there with cars parked all over it. There's a couple of used car dealers. It reminds me of the old south part of Old 41 before we got involved and cleaned that up and made it nice. So that's the main thing, is I want to get that cleaned up. There's no reason to have one part of Old 41 look nice, and the other side look like it's been abandoned for years. So that's what I want to do with Old 41. We're working on Bonita Drive and Rosemary Park. We're going to get those roads cleaned up, and it's going to be a pretty city. We're getting there. We're in much better shape. City's in better shape financially than it's ever been. We got over $100 million in the bank set up for capital improvements.
That sounds like a good place to stop. You're good. Mike?
Okay, so it really depends on what the definition of dreary would be. If we're talking about the lighting down there, which early on when the road was redone, it did seem like it was bright enough, but I think as the trees and everything have been growing, it definitely is darker there now, and especially at the crosswalks. So we do need to improve the lighting down there. But otherwise, the aesthetic-wise, we do need to kind of focus more on the parks and the landscaping. The landscaping contracts, they're supposed to take care of things when they die, they're supposed to replace them. So we do need to do a better job of policing and keeping up with the contractors and make sure that they're fulfilling their contracts. But overall, you know, it is becoming a thriving downtown, and as more businesses go in, I think we will see more nightlife there, and that will kind of help get rid of some of the dreariness too, if that's what you meant, that things kind of close early down there. But we need the people to frequent the businesses that are there in order to keep them open later and later. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move. Oh, go ahead. Applaud. You can applaud. We'll move to a two-part question next. And Rick, I'm going to start with you. So here's the question. What proposed policies do you envision are needed to deal with the projected doubling of the population of the city in 10 years? That's part one.
This is America. In America, you're allowed to own private property. Now, then the government gets involved and says, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And some people say, well, gee whiz, this is an agricultural piece of property. I can make a housing development out of it. I'll just go to city council and say, oh, I want to make a housing development, and look at all the extra taxes you're going to get. And the city council, oh, okay, we'll change the zoning on it, and you make $1 billion and increase the traffic. You knew what it was when you bought it. Don't come to me and tell me you want to change. You knew what it was when you bought it. We only have a certain amount of property in the city of Bonita Springs. In the beginning, back in early 2001 or 2 or whatever it was, we annexed in the Bonita mine. We annexed in the Hyatt Regency. But both of them turned around and bit us. Lee County told the mine they could build 1,500 houses. The city said, no, you can only build 700 houses. So they took it to court and we ended up buying $5 million worth of swampland somewhere. We're still paying on that. That's one of our debts. Hyatt Regency, they want, under the agreement, because I've been going to council meetings for 25 years, under the annexation agreement, we told Rapport Bank they could build 4 20-story high-rises. And somewhere along the line, the city decided, no, you can't. Well, time went on, and then the judge said, yes, you can, and the city owes you $9 million of taxpayers' money. I'm not interested in annexing any pieces of property into the city. We have so much property, it's supply and demand. If you want to live in Bonita Springs, you buy in Bonita Springs. If you can't afford to live in Bonita Springs, you don't live in Bonita Springs.
Thank you, Rick. I'm sorry, but you were not able to get to that second question. So I'm going to move to the next candidate, and let's hear from Ruth.
Would you repeat the question?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
What proposed policies do you envision are needed to deal with the projected doubling of the population of the city in 10 years? And the second part of the question is, understanding the projected population growth issue, what is your long-range transportation plan for the city? That's a lot to fit in 2.5 minutes, but that's what you got.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's that much land left if you're going to double the population. I don't think there's much left to accommodate. I don't know what's going to be done. I, for one, would like to encourage development within our center and do more infill, such as they're doing on Pennsylvania Avenue and some of the lots there, and maybe reclaiming, if possible, some of the land on Old 41 going north. Could be reclaimed for housing. As far as transportation in 10 years, a lot of that is out of the city's hands. That's our MPO, our county commissioners. I'm not a traffic engineer. In planning for 10 years, I see that on Colonial Boulevard in Fort Myers, they've done that diverging diamond, which seems to help traffic flow. Maybe we would have to do that. I don't know. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Mike?
So to deal with the population doubling, a lot of people feel like we have a certain density, and once we're built out, we're built out. But unfortunately, the state requires us to always build in more density. So as we get close to build out, we have to allot for more people coming in. So we can't just say we're full, please turn around. So with that, I do agree with Ruth that we need to look at infill redevelopment, because we can't just keep doing sprawl development and going out in the DRGR, because that's what contributes to the traffic. So while I was on council, we did implement the form-based code for Old 41 downtown area, and that does go blocks back. So it does allow developers to go in, buy some of the smaller units, and make larger units, apartments, townhouses, things like that. But like I said earlier, the population is increasing south of us and north of us, and everybody's going to go through us anyway. So we do need to look at the long-range transportation, and we've already started working on the quadrant plan on Bonita Beach Road and 41, and luckily the state is behind that now, and we're going to see that come to fruition probably within the next 5 to 10 years. Unfortunately, dealing with all these other entities, it takes a lot longer to get anything done. That was my biggest disappointment when I got on council, was learning how long it takes to get anything done in government. But with improvements there, and they are looking at doing an intersection similar to what was done out on State Road 82 and Daniels, out by Lehigh Acres, which really helped that intersection and get the cars through and alleviate the traffic. And the new intersection at Colonial for the interstate interchange. Something on a smaller scale of that might help out with our interstate and Bonita Beach Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Derek?
Well, the thing to really address is we have to look past the 10-year question, because the population is going to increase. But the baby boomer generation, unfortunately, they're going to go into the next chapter of their journey. So the population is actually going to decrease. So, but until we get to that point, okay, and don't turn this area into a sun rust belt, it is very true that the statistics are out there. It's factual. We need to have mixed-use housing. We need to have commercial mixed-use housing. They're doing it in other parts of the country. We need to do it here. It requires less of a land footprint, and it diversifies the economy. We also need to make sure that we have the most advanced technology on our road systems that we can control within the city. And we also need to make sure that our economy is diversified. We need to stop strictly focusing on real estate development and tourism. It is awesome. But we need to bring in good, solid companies that will provide jobs for younger people to stay here in Bonita Springs. Simple as that.
We're going to move to another two-part question. What is your position on building HUD Section 8 low-income housing / apartments in our city? Perhaps creating a housing authority building well more than our current population needs? Do you support opening the city's DRGR to building 3+ or minus low-income Section 8 housing? So let's get your stance. It's going to be hard to answer all 4 of those. Let's get your stance on building HUD Section 8 low-income housing apartments in Bonita Springs. That'll make it easier for the audience to comprehend as well, and me. So let's go ahead and start with Mike.
So I don't believe that we need Section 8 housing, which is government subsistence. We need workforce housing. We have many workers that work in our community or work in Naples, and they're having to drive from Lehigh Acres, Cape Coral, and just more cars on the road, more traffic. So we need to figure out a way to increase the workforce housing, but not the Section 8 housing.
Okay, thank you.
Are we just doing the one part of the question, or are we doing both sides of it?
Well, you have 2.5 minutes to state your thoughts on that topic.
Okay, well, if we're doing the whole question with the housing authority, to that effect, I don't think we need a housing authority either. It's just another layer of government to complicate things, and I think the less government, the better. We need to make it easier for the developers to do the workforce housing, you know, zoning requirements, things like that, possibly giving a bonus density for doing the workforce housing, and maybe easing the impact fees. I think could help get more workforce housing in the city.
Thank you. Let's move to Ruth.
Yes. Well, we don't need towers in the park, okay? They don't work, and that means Section 8 housing used to be towers in an isolated park, and they're kind of not doing that anymore. What is working is workforce housing and doing splashes of it that are done within communities, so that each community can absorb it, and rather than having ghettos. So I'm all for that. And we used to have neighborhoods like that had mixed economic populations, and they work beautifully. Let's go back to that, and I think Bonita is. So I'm all for ADU, accessible dwelling units, mixed-use housing, mixed-use developments. We have several wonderful things going on, and Bonita Bay has done a wonderful thing by having their workforce housing. They changed their sales center, I believe it was their sales center, into housing for their workers. Great idea. More companies, larger companies, maybe perhaps some in Naples are doing that. Some Bonita companies could consider doing that as well. So I'm for government light, and we don't need any more bureaucracy than we already have. So that's it.
Thank you. Rick.
Well, I'm a Republican, but I'm a Reagan Republican, which means you don't say anything bad about another fellow Republican. But it's a supply-demand, a free marketplace. If you can't afford to live in Bonita Springs, you don't live in Bonita Springs. I don't need another dictate from Washington, D.C., throwing money at us, saying, oh, we're going to have a Section 8 housing where we're going to pay you to rent cheap to these people. That's not freedom. That's not freedom. You know, it's a choice of we went from 32,000 people when we incorporated to 56,060 people at last count. And all those people managed to live in the Bonita Springs without any public housing. I think the Habitat for Humanity is one of the better programs. They have the private ownership. If you don't own it, you don't care about it. So that's my view on that.
That'll do it. That'll do it. Thank you very much. And Derek.
You know, this is a pretty big issue for me. walking around the streets of downtown Bonita, I've learned that within our own community, we have what they call rotating bed schedule apartments. Do any of you know what that is?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's the predominantly Hispanic population. So you have these landlords that rent out the rooms by the hour. And a lot of these students go to the Bonita Springs Elementary School. You don't hear our council talking about that, okay? That's a big issue. So that needs to be addressed. Absolutely, 100%. Because how are we going to better our community when we're taking advantage of the most vulnerable? So, you know, I've lived in communities that had HUD housing, low-income housing, and I understand why they have it. I don't think that approach particularly will work well in Bonita Springs because land is such at a premium, but the revolving bed schedule rentals need to stop.
Yes.
And as mayor, I will work to end that, period.
So, since we have incorporated questions here, it's 10 to 7. And we didn't have open questions for our city council candidates. Let's do one more question here. Do you mind if we go a little past 7? Good, all right, so we'll do that. Let's ask, because I think this is the question we should ask, and then you're going to get your 1-minute summaries, and then we will take questions for the city council candidates. All right, so that's our plan. So here is the final question for the evening. Should the city seek and expect data from the sheriff's office on coverage within the city to determine need before requesting additional deputies for community policing? So let's start with Ruth.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
Absolutely, it's a long question. We have very intelligent people in the audience. They have very explicit questions. Should the city seek and expect data from the sheriff's office on coverage within the city to determine need before requesting additional deputies for community policing? Because that comes out of your budget.
I say yes, but I'm not sure it needs to come from the sheriff's office because it would always be, yes, you do need it. I think it should come from the city itself or whatever entity would do that. I question it because a lot of the new development are from the big gated communities where you know, you wouldn't expect a lot of crime. So I don't know if the 2 extra deputies are needed because I never saw a study about it and don't know if there's a need. So I say, you know, before you do anything, you should take a survey, study it, get some data, and then make a decision.
Thank you. Derek.
I want to be clear that I'm a big supporter for government light, but it also has to be government right, okay? I'm going to go with Jesse on this. You know, our population is growing, and if you look at the actual statistics, we're in a debt to our residents. We don't have enough coverage. But, saying that again, I think we need to look at the budget. We need to see where our money, our taxpayer money, is going. What is Estero contributing to this? You know, what the Estero office up at Coconut Point. I mean, how does the rents there work? You know, Jesse talked about bringing it to the old library. That's a possibility. Could that save us some money? Possibly. You know, but yes, we definitely need to focus on making sure our community is safe, no matter where you live, whether you're in the Gilded Gates or you're walking down, you know, an older part of downtown Bonita. Absolutely.
Thank you, Derek. And Mike.
So the Sheriff's Department does give us a update annually to let us know what they've been doing within the city. And we have been running at a deficit for some time, so we do need to add more deputies at the moment. But we always need to kind of look at metrics and do studies, so that way we know when we have enough, because I'm sure someday we will hit that tipping point. But right now, I'm thankful that we've been able to add more deputies, and they are making a difference, especially in the downtown. They've started riding bicycles up and down. They've stopped in at the various businesses and introduced themselves, and let us know that we can contact them at any time if there's any trouble. But we are government light, and we need to be fiscally conservative with our budget. So there will be a time that we'll be maxed out on the number of deputies that we need, and we will need to do a study and kind of pay attention to those reports from them to figure out when that time is.
Thank you, Mike. Rick, do you need me to repeat?
Yes.
Okay.
If you don't feel safe, if you're not safe in your neighborhood or on the highway, what good is life? If you got people shooting at you, if you got people robbing you, I would hope, I'm praying that we have the safest city in the state of Florida. Maybe they quit printing the police beat. They used to put a thing in the newspaper how many people got arrested years ago, and now I don't see anything. And if anybody's been here 25 years ago, when we first incorporated, so we had that bamboo court. They had a bunch of low rent district, and we had lots of prostitutes. I got nothing against prostitutes. It's an old prostitute. It's an old job, but. So we asked the sheriff, we said we had to deal with the sheriff's department to have a community policing that is dedicated to the city, so they get to know the people and they get to know the neighborhoods. So we asked them to do something about the prostitutions on all 41. So they come back a couple weeks later and said, oh, by the way, we pick one up, we take them to Fort Myers, book them, and it takes like 4 hours, and can you buy us a paddy wagon? So the city bought them a paddy wagon, and they put the gal out there, and in 45 minutes they had 8 Johns and off to Fort Myers. And I think the prostitutes are out there by I-75 or something. And we cleaned up Old 41. That was bad news in those days. But that's not counting all the drug dealers. So Jesse inherited, it's better than when he came in than it was before him. But I drive across town now, and I'll see a sheriff's car, at least one. And I know he's out there. Before, you could drive around Bonita for hours and days and never see a sheriff's car. So if you're not safe, you're nothing. So
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate that. Now we're moving into, yes.
Just for clarification.
Yes.
Since the council was brought up, just the statistic, we're looking at 2.5 per thousand is what the FBI recommends to be safe. We're at almost 60,000 and we have about 26. So we're nowhere near where we should be. So this isn't something that was done willy-nilly, and when they come in annually, they've told us every single year the calls for service have gone up every single year. So, I mean, this isn't something we're making up. This is just, these are the numbers.
Thank you for the edification. I'm sorry that was a little premature. We need to finish up the panel here, but thank you for that further information. Let's move to because we're already into bonus time here. Want to make sure we finish in a timely fashion. Let's get to our bonus round, 1-minute summaries of what you want to accomplish. Let's go ahead and start with Rick. Your 1-minute summary of what you want to accomplish.
Knock the tax rate down. I got them down after 2 years. I got the rate down from 8.173 down to 8.0. The next year, they jumped it back up to 8.73. And now last week, they put it up to 8.54 or something like that. They wanted $600,000 more out of the poor people of Bonita Springs. They got over $100 million in their bank. They had $1,700,000 in interest they earned out of that money. But the new council people, they wanted more money. We're going to to demand it from the people. If you don't pay us, we'll throw you out of your house. Now, that's not right. We don't need the money. The people, we were so fortunate that we have 70%, I'm guessing 70% of the people living in gated communities, and they don't use much police protection. They don't use much code enforcement. They take care of themselves pretty well. So we're very fortunate that we should be able to keep our taxes down.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Let's move to Ruth.
Okay, I just want to say one thing that's going to cut into my what I want to accomplish. I've walked almost all of the ungated portions of Bonita. It's been so much fun. And I haven't had, I'm perfectly safe everywhere, even in the most rundown street. I've not had one incident. So I want to say I feel perfectly safe in Bonita, really. It's wonderful. So that said, I have, one of the things I'd like to accomplish, I care very much about the quality of our water. And, you know, there's something that we can all do. And one of the things I'd like to do is to promote, with educational seminars, the use of natural filter systems for our stormwater retention ponds, as opposed to chemical management. And to promote these within all of our communities, gated or ungated, and using that and cutting back on chemical treatments wherever possible. Number two,
There you go, you got number one in. That's good, the most important one. That's good. So let's move it to Mike.
Well, I'm here for the same reason you all are here. It's a great community. We all want to live in paradise. There's a lot more going right in Bonita than we have problems. But there are problems. There's always room for improvement. I do want to say the biggest thing I want to make sure gets done is burn. We need to make sure we get the rail trail in. We're down to a little bit over a year to get the money funded for that. And that's just a huge opportunity for our area for ecotourism, you know, various things, safe routes to school, and just a safe route for people to walk and bike and enjoy our city. But, you know, along the way, we do have the traffic problems. We have to always be on the lookout for that, what we can do to improve things. It's a big Herculean task, but, you know, we have partners out there, and we need to make sure that we're engaging with the county and the state to get those done. But we need to protect our water quality. Thank you.
That's a good note to finish on. There you go. Derek.
Well, you know, we need to start from the opening gateway to our city, and that's our website. It's absolutely terrible. The app is absolutely terrible. It freezes when you go in between screens. That is the window to our community. On top of that, we need new leadership in Bonita Springs. We don't need politicians. We need new faces, new ideas, new strategies to build a better community for every single Venetian that's here, period. Okay? You hear a lot of excuses. Oh, this is Lee County, or this, you know, the bureaucracy of the city. People, that's why there's people up here that want to run to change this. Because at the end of the day, it's the citizens of Bonita that suffer. It's the way Bonita looks. Okay? It has improved tremendously. And I agree with that. But there's so much more that we can do together.
Thank you. So now, were there any other questions that we collected from our constituents here? No. Good. All right. So did I say good out loud? I didn't mean it that way. I just am keeping track of time. Remember, I'm trying to be time efficient. Oh, sometimes I speak out loud. Jeez Louise. Okay. So, what we will do at this point, I think, is where are our city council candidates? I know Jesse's right here. So would you be willing to stand from your seats and answer questions? Are you comfortable? I have two sets of questions here.